Hey, Joe Gill back again. Hey, I just wanted to do this something different, a little side video on for my first part one of Cuba. I mentioned something about prosexual stuff about maybe prosexual societies, and suggesting that Cuba might be probably one of them. Well, I was reflecting upon an incident that happened that I really couldn't tell in the video. An incident, almost like a confrontation I had on that very first trip back in '95 in Cuba, that jarred a memory of this class, sociological class that I took way back in '91, and I still kept. This is the textbook, and I'll give you a quick reading from it a little bit later in the video. And that's what jarred my memory with what I was telling you about the girls there coming up to me on streets and kind of, whistling and asking me if I had a girlfriend and all that. It just kind of, and the incident just kind of brought all this, intertwined it all together. First of all, the story that I really didn't have the time to tell. Basically, I was over at my friend's hotel who I was traveling with. I heard there was a bunch of loud music playing out on the street, probably about 50 yards away. So I'm curious. I go out and I look, and there's a bunch of school kids, 30 to 40, and a couple of teachers, adults. And they're playing that loud, rumba, and the kids are kind of dancing, frolicking. So I'm curious. So I go over there, walk over there and check it out. And then, no English is spoken there, very little. So I speak Spanish to the teacher, and I say, ¿Por qué los niños no están en la clase, estudias libros y lecciones, etc.? Which basically means, how come the kids aren't in class studying books, studying lessons, or whatever? And they're saying, fiesta, esta, recreación. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I've kind of back up a little bit, and I'm just kind of hanging out, just checking out. And then I see this probably 7-8 year old little girl goes up on this other boy about maybe the same age. He looked maybe a little bit younger, maybe, she was maybe 8 or 9. This boy looked like he was about maybe 7. Anyway, she starts dirty dancing with him, literally just grinding up on his crotch. And she's all, and the little boy's just like this. He's got his arms down, and he's just like, he's just all laughing. And then I do a double take, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like freaking out. And then I turn to the teachers. I go, mira, qué pasa? Or, qué es esto? Like, what's happening? I go, which means look, what's happening? What is this? And they're like, and they're just looking at me like, and I'm just like, they see expression. It's like, hey, is that, and I'm just having to look, I'm pointing, I'm like, is this normal? Is this acceptable in your, well, not only your, in all this? And they're saying, oye, keep that bremo. And then they're looking at me like, what the hell is your problem? What's your deal? What's your beef? And it's just like, they looked at me like they were insulted and all that, and like, how dare you even bring this up, or how dare you even comment? And then I just realized, I just put up my hands and I said, hey, and then it all came together. This is not my country, not my culture, not my tradition. But then it reminded me of this, my class, and then it reminded me, it's like, oh, okay, that's why the older women are, oye, chico, and can I be your girlfriend? And I go, well, they say things, habits, and the way your mind and your personality and everything, it starts from when you're a child and you're developed and you carry it into an adult. So I thought, oh, okay, this is what my sociological book was talking about, prosexual, anti-sexual society. And it wasn't like a whole chapter. It wasn't like the whole book. It's just like a little blurb and all that. So I just started putting two and two together, and basically what it is, it's just these 2 pages right here, and I'll go ahead and A reading from the Marriage and Family. Probably the most, this is kind of what it sort of made me reflect. Probably the most openly prosexual peoples are those that inhabit the various tropical islands. For example, in the Trobriand Islands of the South Pacific. I've never heard of them. Children begin sexual play with one and another when they are about 5 years old, imitating their parents' activities and pretending to copulate, meaning simulate sex acts. Copulate is a very psychological professional term for sex or whatever, intercourse. This is considered quite natural and even humorous by adults who would never dream of interfering. The play becomes realistic, and copulation begins for girls between ages 6 and 8, for boys between 10 and 12. Among the Marquesans of the South Pacific, regular coitus begins before puberty, and sexual play is a favorite form of activity. Exclusive sexual possession is socially disapproved of. Sexual jealousy is considered poor taste. Marquesans, that's what I wanted to say, of the South Pacific. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of the Trobriand or the Marquesans. It's definitely not Tahiti or Fiji or whatever. So there you go. I mean, for girls starting to have sex at 6, 8 years old. Okay, that's not the practice here in Western society. So there you go. But I just remembered it was talking about sex play, and so seeing that and my kind of overall experience there, it's just like, okay, well, I found the Western version of, I guess, this, but I kept this. I thought this is one of the books I didn't sell back. Typically the habit when you go to junior college, I don't know if it's a habit of millennials today, you buy books at the bookstore and then you try to sell them back. This is one I didn't sell back because I thought, okay, there's some pretty cool information. I kept it and I just stashed it away. So this to me was kind of like, when I read it, I was kind of like a little bit shocking and kind of crazy in a sense. Now, here's what it says about anti-sexual societies. Examples of anti-sexual societies include the Manu of New Guinea, which regards sex as necessary evil, an unpleasant chore that men and women must perform in order to fulfill the necessity for reproduction. Kissing is unknown, and breast stimulation and similar forms of love play are generally lacking. To the Manus, sex is a sin. Moreover, there are no romantic stories, songs, dances in the Manu culture, and there is no word for love in their language. In other countries, such as the Marrakesh and in the rural areas of Greece, Sicily, Italy, and Eastern Europe, I don't think they practice this, what I'm about to read. The bride traditionally required to fly a blood-stained sheet from the window the morning after the wedding to provide proof of her virginity at marriage by showing that her hymen had been ruptured by her bridegroom on the wedding night. In some societies, that sounds like something maybe Italy and Greece maybe practiced about 70, 80 years ago. I don't know if they practice it now. In some societies, erotic pleasure is acceptable for men, but not for women. For example, societies in more than half of the countries in Africa routinely perform clitorectomy on girls when they are about 8 years old, cutting off the chief organ for their erotic pleasure. Since operation is done without an anesthetics, it's extremely painful, and the pain persists for days, and sometimes for the remainder of women's lives. In some cases, uncontrolled breathing and shock can carry about immediate death. So I don't know. It said most of African society, again, maybe that was probably about 100 years ago or something, but I wouldn't doubt if maybe some isolated rural tribes still practice it. So anyway, I mean, I was recently watched that Cuba, the part 1 Cuba video, because I'd gotten, that's the video I get the most comments from. And one guy commented, was asking me, oh, do you have a list of prosexual? I really don't. I just kind of, it's more of just, as far as Cuba was concerned, I was just forming an opinion just on those specific experience. Whether an actual PhD sociologist would consider Cuba, would classify literally as Cuba as that type of a society, I have no fucking idea. I don't have a PhD. I dropped out of junior college. Well, I should say I finished with a certificate in world travel management, so I couldn't answer that question. But anyway, I just wanted to drop this video, give you a quick blurb on that, on what I meant by constantly repeat, because it seemed like I was being repetitive. Oh yeah, this is a prosexual society, and I'm pointing to the camera due to my, having a little bit of too much liquid encouragement. But that's what I was getting at, so I hope that sheds some light on and maybe shocked you a little bit. But until my next video, adios and see you later.